Well, hello, folks. I'm Daugherty The Christian Whistleblower, and welcome to the station today. Welcome to the YouTube channel. And today we're going into, again, our series on Above the Flat Circle. And we're going to be getting into some real in-depth teaching. And I hope that you like this, because I think this may be our new direction, some more in-depth, more, I guess it's hardcore, but everything we do is hardcore. So it's just going to be in-depth. I have some charts, I have some graphs, I have some things that I think will help you, because this is some very deep information. And I do want you to subscribe to the channel. I would like you to like these videos and share these videos. Please do that. It helps us reach more people. We're on a bit of a spike now, which is a good thing, and I hope that you'll really enjoy this teaching here today. And just a word about the Christian whistleblower. I still get these crazy questions, which I don't understand. Are you a Christian? Why do you say the things you are if you're a Christian? Is Edward Snowden, the NSA whistleblower, still in the NSA? No. He was in the NSA. I am the Christian whistleblower because I used to be a Christian, and I've seen the garbage going on there, and I'm no longer a Christian. I'm a follower of the teachings of the Christ, which, of course, the culmination and the fulfillment of those teachings came about 2,000 years ago. When the Christ came to this earth as the manifested Word, the Elohim of Genesis. And we're going to do a big teaching about that as well. But today we want to get back into Above the Flat Circle. And we've got a nice chart that's going to walk us through it. And it's going to be a very in-depth study. So get your thinking caps on, get your drink of water, get ready, because here we go. Okay, and here we are. Let's take a look at the spiritual creation of this present 3D pardon me, world age. So we're looking at the creation of this present 3D world age, and that's what this chart shows you, is the creation of the spiritual world in the book of Genesis. And we're looking, this is the spiritual creation of the present world, which is designed, as we saw yesterday, to help us hopefully navigate upward in our ascension. But some of us will, at least by a negative inertia, be pulled down into the density. But in order to facilitate this spiritual progression after the destruction of the world by Yahweh, the Lord Jehovah, a place had to be made to facilitate this. And in Genesis it says that the Elohim created they created a space, they created a gap. The word is expanse. It's a spread, it's a middle ground of transition, and it is exactly what it says it is. There had to be something. Remember, we were back here, and the Lord had created this dense darkness. And that's all there was. Dense, horrible darkness. But the Elohim said, you know what? We need there to be light as well. We're going to step in. We're going to make a decision, and they brought about the light. So you had these two competing factors here, the light and the dark. If you will, that's what they're called in Genesis, so we'll go with that. And the dark is a dense darkness that is a flood that will take you away, that will pull you down, and you will be lost forever. A perfect example of this. This is what the dense darkness does. The dense flood pulls you downward, downward, downward. And unless you're making effort to go this way, you will automatically go that way. So you had this density, and then the Elohim said, let's inject this light as well. But if you look at this, it's very dichotomous. It's a complete duality. So it's not possible in our terms of our development as beings to just plop from this bloop into that, or similarly to plop from this bloop into that. So a place had to be made. A place had to be made for this process to take place, right? Because they said the evening and the morning are the first day. The becoming dark or the becoming light
is the primary purpose of this age. Our personal resolution of spiritual destiny is the primary purpose of this age. And if you didn't watch yesterday's show, you're going to have to go back and watch it, because it's just, I think it was maybe day before yesterday, but the one before this, number 2, it's just too dense, and it's too dense with information to try to get it cold. It's like coming into, statistics class 2 weeks in and think you're going to pick up. Not going to happen. So the becoming dark or the becoming light is the primary purpose for this age. So becoming light or becoming dark is the primary purpose for this age. But there had to be a place to facilitate this process. And in this dichotomous duality situation, there was no place for this to take place. There was no place to facilitate this. So the Elohim said, you know what? Let's create an expanse. Let's create a firmament. It's all the same word. And what this is, in the original Hebrew, it's a spread. You can see it's a spread. Let's say this yellow is what I'm talking about, what the Elohim created. This yellow would be your expanse. This yellow would be your firmament. And what it is, according to the Hebrew, is it's a middle ground of transition. And it's also a middle ground for proving or choosing. So that's exactly what we're talking about. It's a proving ground for whether we're going to be part of this, ultimately, or part of this, ultimately. And it's not really a test that the Elohim are putting on us. It's our own resolution. Remember, it's our own resolution. We are working out our own resolution. We talked about this, at length. I think up here we talked about, this is if we do nothing. And now we have a chance to do our own resolution. Everyone's going up, everyone's going down, and or. So this is allowing us to work out our own resolution. That's what we're looking at here. And that's why the Elohim created the expanse, why they created the firmament. And they talked about dividing the waters below from the waters above. And the waters are, in this sense, are used metaphorically, like in Job 11:16. You'll forget misery. You'll forget it as waters that pass away. So what, waters are used metaphorically as time, as experience, as things we move through. So the Elohim have created an expanse. They have created a firmament. And let's just take a quick peek, if we can, at Genesis 1:6 when it talks about that. And God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters. Let it divide the waters from the waters. And the Elohim made the firmament which divided the waters which were under from the waters which were above. And it was so. So, again, get that. And God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters. Let it divide the waters from above and the waters from up below. So this is it. Here's your firmament. It's dividing the waters above from the waters below. And it is it's facilitating a middle ground, a proving ground. It is creating a spread, a middle ground of transition from here we are right here, this yellow, it's really, this yellow is kind of an exploded view of this right here. This little, it's really a torus is what it is right here. And it kind of just blows up to here. So we see that it's 1/6. So as we begin to touch a little bit on the flat earth, round earth type of debate and discussion that's going on, the firmament really, in its most biblical description, is a description of the facilitation. It's a description of the facilitation of a spiritual creation. It's the facilitation of a spread, a middle ground of transition, which is for proving and choosing. So in its base definition, and I know you Bible thumpers won't like this, but that's not the first thing you Bible thumpers haven't liked from me, and it certainly won't be the last. But the base definition of the of the firmament is this creation of a space to facilitate our spiritual fulfillment, be it up towards light or be it down towards dark. And as we go back to Genesis, let's just step through these things and see exactly what they did. And we'll back up just a second. And God said, let there be light. The Elohim said, let there be light, and there was light. And God and the Elohim saw the light, that it was good, and they divided the light from the darkness. And they called the light day, and they called the darkness night. And the evening and the morning were the first day. What happens in evening? Evening is when it's getting dark, right? Morning is when it's getting light. So if we go to the original Hebrew, and the becoming dark and the becoming light, and this are the first day in Hebrew, the primary purpose of this age. So, going back again to our diagram, the Elohim saw that there was dark, right? They saw that there was chaos. They saw that there was chosek, darkness that can be felt. So they said, let there be light. So they made a difference between light and a difference between dark. And as we saw, they said that the light was good, and they divided it from the darkness. And they called the light day, and they called the darkness night. So they took that, here's difference, right? But then they had to create the expanse. And they said that the day was good. Good in the sense that it is profitable. Good in the sense that it helps us. Good in the sense that it is what we're meant to be, to go upward like this, into day. Now, and we've got to get the concept of day out of our minds, of, day, and like it's daylight out right now, but we're not really talking about physical creation yet. We're talking about spiritual creation. So we're talking about going towards day. We're talking about going towards light. Day and light. Light and day. And avoiding night and dark. And day was expressly said as good, but as you just saw in the scripture, dark was not called good. And intentionally so, I believe. Because remember, Exodus 10:21 talked about a darkness that could be felt. Well, let's talk about the day first, then we'll talk about the night, because I like to be as positive as possible. So, what does John 1:5-6 say about the day? Well, let's take a look at John. My mind is racing a million miles a minute, sorry. John 1, and let's just go into the King James of John 1, and we'll get down to 5-6. Okay. In him was life. In the Christ was life. And that life was the light of men. And the light shines in darkness. And the darkness has not been able to overcome it. This in the Hebrew, in the Greek, does not mean comprehend as in understand. It means as in overcome. And I know some of you don't like me, and you think I lie. So let's look at it. Comprehended in John 1:5, interlinear, bloop. And let's just go up here, John 1:5, bloop. And the darkness, oh, Daugherty's not lying. And the darkness was not able to overcome the light. The darkness is not able to overcome the light. Let's go back in, look at that. It can't overtake it. It can't seize it. It can't overtake it. When are you going to stop lying about me? When are you going to stop being dummies? When are you going to just realize that we're talking about truth here? And there was a man sent from the Elohim, and he came to bear witness of the light, that all men might believe. The light, the light, the light. In verse 9, the Christ was the light, which lights every man which comes into the world. So this is what we're talking about when we're talking about the light here. This is the light of ascension, the light of development, the light of growth, the light of becoming, the light of understanding. This is all about, and we read about this is the light that everyone gets. And this is really the creation for this place. The Elohim created the firmament to facilitate our growth from dark unto light. Matthew 22:13, I have a feeling I might have put down the wrong number. It might be Matthew 24:13, but let's take a look anyway. Talking about the dark, Matthew 22:13. It might be Matthew 24, but let's take a look. I don't always make mistakes, but when I do, they usually turn out to be for our benefit. Oh, I didn't make a mistake. Cast into outer darkness where there'll be weeping and gnashing of teeth. And that's just a further take on, Exodus said this was a darkness that could be felt, dense darkness. And then Matthew talks about this is where the concept of the eternal darkness and the gnashing of teeth comes from. So this really is the spiritual creation of the age. We're going to keep talking about this. But the Elohim wants you to go up into light. And religion is designed to pull you down into dark, into night, into density, into eternal outer darkness that you can feel. So wrap your mind around that for a second, and we're going to move on and talk about the rest of this. Okay, so let's review a quick second. If we remember, in the beginning, the Elohim created a perfect, wonderful, fantastic earth. And then Yahweh destroyed it, creating confusion, chaos, emptiness, and void. He created Chosek, which is a darkness that can be felt like in Egypt, a darkness which can be felt. It was the same darkness as the Egypt darkness. It was the same, came from the same source, which is the Lord Yahweh, Jehovah. But the Elohim were not content to just say, okay, we're going to let that rat bastard screw everything up. So what they did is they began to move upon the face of the waters. The Spirit of God began to flutter and shake the dense darkness. They introduced their divine frequency, their divine harmonics, their divine vibration to offset the density. And what we came up with then was the darkness of the Lord and the light of the Elohim. And the Elohim saying, look, this is good. They didn't say this was good. And then they said what we need to do to facilitate, and then what they said was that the first day is for the facilitation of this thing, us going up or us going down. So the becoming dark or becoming light is the first purpose of this age. The personal resolution of our spiritual destiny is what this is all about. So they took this situation, and in order to facilitate this situation, created this situation, which is the expanse, the firmament. And we'll talk more about the flat earth, round earth controversy, spherical earth, actually, when we get to that. But the first and most practical application of the word firmament is the creation of a spiritual place which is a middle ground for proving or choosing. Now, an interesting note, if we talk about floods, and we talked about floods back here, that the darkness of Yahweh is a flood. In Matthew 24 and Luke 17, talk about people going on in their religious lifestyles, and we read these yesterday, and you're welcome to go back and look at that. People carrying on in their regular Abrahamic lifestyle. Most of the people I'm talking to will be Roman Catholicism lifestyle, Roman Protestantism lifestyle, some in Abrahamic Islam, some of you in Abrahamic Judaism. But they're doing all of their religious ceremonies. They're marrying, they're giving in marriage, they're having communions, they're eating, they're drinking. You get into the Greek of that, and it's talking about the communions and the religious dinners and feastings and fastings. So they're doing all of that stuff, as Matthew 24 talks about and Luke 17 talks about, until the day that the flood took them under. And the reason is because this is a spiral, a downward spiral of human religion, and it sucks you dry. It takes all of your energy, it takes all of your power, it takes as much money as it can, and it takes all of your intention and your energy until you get down into this dense darkness from which there is no escape. So that's really what we're talking about. And just in case you thought, oh, Jeff doesn't really know what he's talking about, he's just got a chip on his shoulder against Christianity. Well, let me just show you why I have over 100,000 hours of biblical study. And let me just show you why I have a Bible college degree. And let me just show you what over 35 years now of biblical study, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 hours a day, writing 9 books. Let me just show you. Am I tooting my own horn? Well, it's a sorry dog that doesn't wag its own tail every now and then. And some of you rat bastards need to be reminded of some of these qualifications, because you would love to dismiss me as some petty, silly, idiotic ludicrosity, but you can't, because I've got the credentials. I've got the collegiate level anthropological and geographical studies, which allows me to know the research and allows me to do the research and allows me to have credibility with the collegiate level training that you can't say anything against, and to have the biblical training, the Bible college degree. So what you gonna do when the truth and the scholarly wisdom breaks out upon you? It's like the Hulk. Rawr! Hulk Hogan. What you gonna do? And I know there's talk about him, in with Time Warner and all that, but I'm talking about the character. But at any rate, you can run, but you can't hide, and you can throw all these attacks at me you want, but the truth is the truth. And for example, John chapter 9, verse number 4. Let's look at this, and it's just amazing. John chapter 9, verse number 4. And this is what the Christ says. Read that. It says, I must work the works of him that sent me, while it is day. While it is day. I must work the works. I must ascend. I must go up this bridge. I must ascend this ladder. I must work out my own salvation. Paul's a rat bastard. He stole good stuff every now and then. Every good liar has some truth. I must work out my way. I must do what I got to do. When? While it's day. I can only work while it's day. I must work while it's day. Why? Because when night comes, no man can work. And let's look at that for just 1 second. 9:4 in the interlinear. See, this is something else people won't do. They won't go cold to their sources because they're afraid it'll make them look wrong. 9:4. It behooves us to work. It behooves us to perform, to practice, to commit, to acquire. It permits us to, we should be accomplishing. And remember, this goes back to James. Let me show you my faith by what I do, and you can show me your rat bastard no good faith by the fact you just sit around and do what everybody tells you to do. So it behooves us to be about our Father's business. It behooves us to be performing, practicing, I don't know why he keeps asking me that, while it's yet day. The works of the one who has sent us. Who sent us? Who created us? The Elohim. You sure the Christ was an Elohim, manifested, and the other Elohim sent him. Or maybe it was the God of the Elohim. I don't know. We're not there yet. But while it's yet day, because is coming the night, and my feeling is, and I haven't looked at this yet, and I don't remember the Greek well enough to remember what these words mean, but it's not so much that it's not only is it coming, but it comes upon you, or you find yourself suddenly in it, because that downward spiral, you get so down when you can't get out anymore. You're not able to work your way out. Let's see what coming means. It's coming, it's going, it's arriving, it's entered into, you fall into it, go into it. Oh, snap. See, this is what happens when you have all of this study, when you have all, to come down into it. To go from one place to a freaking another. That's why you listen to this channel. This is why you listen to this channel. And this is why, if you haven't been, you need to start. Because we're giving you stuff that nobody else has been giving you for 2,000 years. I must work. I must be practicing and doing while it's day. While it's day. Because if I don't, I'm going to be dragged down. I'm going to come down. I'm going to fall down into this night. And once I get to night, the problem is no man can work there anymore. No man can work there anymore. You're so exhausted. You've been drained. The rat bastard Yahweh has drained you. Your pastor, your priest, your pope have drained you. Your religion has drained you. This stuff is real, my friend. How much more do you need to understand what I'm bringing to you? It doesn't get any more powerful than that. And I'm going to close with this for today, I think. When we talk about that dense darkness, and it's described as a flood, Matthew 24, Luke 17, if you have some spiritual sensibility about you, or if you're just new to this, you recognize those as prophetic scriptures. Matthew 24, sun turns as blood, sky falls, star falls, devils, tribulation. It matches up with Revelation, I think, Revelation 14, 15, 16. It's a parallel passage. And that's when all these trumps and vials and bowls, this wrath, this scary future trying to scare you, to get you on this instead of on that. You just need to ignore all that shit. It really is just shit. Ignore it. It's dung. And keep going here. And that's why Pauline Christianity is so focused on prophecy. And that's why some of you idiots that are still, and I know people don't like it when I call them idiots, but other people don't like me calling people idiots. But the reason I call them idiots is because they know. And they're too greedy, they're too arrogant, they're too stupid, or they're too scared to tell you the truth. They know this reality, but they won't share it with you because they're trying to keep you going down here, because this is where they make their money. This is where they get their energy. And that's why they're so focused on prophecy. All they want to talk to you about is this night and this flood, and the trumps and the vials and the mark of the beast and the beast of the mark, and, that's all they want to talk about. They want to scare you with it. But true spirituality is focused on the light. And not love and light. Oh, everything's great. There's no bad things. You just ask them, are they of the light? And they must tell you the truth. Oh, come on. You love and lighters are almost as bad as these Pauline people. Almost as bad. But at any rate, I shouldn't have done that because we got out of the strong. Remember John 9:4. We have to practice. We have to be about our ascension while it's still day, while we still have access to the day. Because when a man falls, as John said, when a man descends, when a man falls, when a man finds himself in night, and of course a woman as well, you can no longer work. Once you find yourself, and who knows where it happens, you're like swirling. Is it right about here where you can't fight your way back out anymore? Or is it over here? Or is it here? But I mean, it's someplace you get and you're done. You have no more, you can't pull yourself out. And the rat bastard Yahweh, Lord, Jehovah, Pauline Christianity, Pauline Catholicism, Pauline Protestantism, Pauline Islam, which may be Pauline. We're going to look at that. And of course, Paul's religion was heavily Judaic. So if you're in Abrahamic religion, this is going to happen to you. And I'm telling you, wake up while it's yet day. Don't wait to get too far down here, because once you get into this night, you can't get out. And I'm here to help prevent that from happening to you. And I want to leave this up as we go out so you can be reminded of the enormity of that. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, the Christian Whistleblower, and I'm here to help you unindoctrinate yourself.